we are going to talk about, if I can get my cursor in the right place, the genealogical tree of the religions. Um, uh, as you all know, hopefully by now, Gnosis in itself is a set of techniques to enable the individual and maybe the group to encounter objective, direct wisdom, the knowledge of the heart. And throughout millennia, there has been many religions, many schools, many teachings formed by various people. But there is a common thread in all those religions and teachings, which is Gnosis. It is not that Gnosis has kind of stolen all the best bits out of all the other religions and schools and teachings and said, this is Gnosis. It's round the other way. It is the fact that Gnosis is already within those other schools, those other religions, those other teachings. So Gnosis in itself, as you know, as we've said, is knowledge of the heart. And it is therefore the foundation, or Gnosis is the foundation, or you could say the trunk, which supports all of the other teachings, religions, because Gnosis in itself is just knowledge, is true wisdom. And therefore, all of those other schools, all of those other religions seek to find that same truth, the same objective wisdom, but they use different methods or different terminologies, which is totally fine, which has been generated over time by various people. And we'll come back to these people, who they are and what they stand for a bit later on. Every religion, if we focus on them for the moment, normally includes a trinity. Every religion normally includes an abyss or a hell, and it contains a heaven. We know from previous talks that when we talk about religion, the word, we can go to its original meaning, and it comes from the Latin religare. Remember, we talked about that a few weeks ago, which means to return or to rebind together, and we can say together with our inner being. Same, the word yoga, as an example, means to reunite with our inner spirit. So Gnosis forms the support or the trunk of all the other schools and religions and teachings, enabling us to find or reach what we call self-realization. And we can see as examples that Allah, Brahma, Tao, Zen, Iao, Inri, God are representations of the same love and truth. We can also see that Mary, Ram-Io, Isis, Juno, Demeter, Ceres, Maria, etc., are representations of the divine cosmic mother. The same aspect. And we can also see, for example, that Mary Magdalene, who I'm sure you're all aware of Mary Magdalene, is the same as Salambo, Matra, Ishtar, Astarte, Aphrodite, Venus, etc., etc. And finally, we can also see that the Christ as a principle we're talking about, if you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about the three aspects of the Christ. There is the cosmic Christ, there is the historical Christ, and there is the inner Christ. So when we talk about the Christ as a principle, we can say, well, for Christianity, that's obviously Jesus. But for the Persians, it's Ormuz. For the land of the Vedas, Vishnu. The Hindus, Krishna. For the Chinese, Fu He. For the ancient Egyptians, Osiris. For the Aztecs, Quetzalcoatl. For Indonesia, Buddha, etc., etc., etc. So when we start, I'm just going to find my cursor again. When we start to look at these things, we can say that Gnosis is the trunk of the tree which supports or includes all of the different schools and religions and teachings over time. And if you remember from one of the first lectures, that Gnosis in itself is founded on science, art, philosophy, and mysticism. So the support or the framework which enables Gnosis to be found within the person comes from those four pillars of wisdom. And we can say generally those, I'll just put some examples there in the tree. They're different teachings and religions, but Gnosis runs through all of them. Okay. So we know that there is a kind of universal knowledge which leads us, when it's rationalized or synthesized by Master Samael, to our own inner path. And that path is taking us to truth, to our inner being, to the very fundamental principle of what we are trying to achieve as students of Gnosis. And how do we do this? We get direct mystical experience reached, which is something reached beyond the mind, beyond affections, and is obviously not egoic. We need to start to make a connection, therefore, with our inner being through practically applying the practices we are taught and given in the books, in the videos, and in this course. When we start to make God, our own inner being, tangible within us, we can investigate and prove the existence of our inner being, or the God within, which then gives us faith. So faith is not the same as belief. Those two words, I believe, are sometimes intermixed, especially in the Western cultures. Belief is subjective. Belief is something we are told to listen to, or we are instructed how to find. But faith means that we know that God exists in whichever form we have been trying to find God. We know, in our case, as students of Gnosis, that our inner being is inside us. We know our Divine Mother is with us, helping us, guiding us, and when we do the practices, eliminating ego. So, therefore, the faith becomes real within us and is very related, logically, to that which we call Gnosis. Our inner being is the one who we should prostrate to. So that's a very kind of grandiose word, but it means it's the one we should kneel down before. We should kneel down before our own inner being. So we're not talking about necessarily kneeling down before a statue or a image or um, a person even. Instead, we are prostrating to our own individual being, that which has no name. Okay? So we can find that inner being primarily through being in the moment, but also directly through meditation. Meditation means that we are able to directly contact and connect with our own inner being. And in those moments, we can obviously prostrate. But of course, we can also make prayers. We can also make petitions in any moment during our day. And if we have that faith, we know that our inner mother in particular is going to be listening to whatever we ask, if it's to do with the esoteric or spiritual life. So what does that lead to? Through the inner work, ultimately we come to the intimate self-realization. Now, as we mentioned earlier, depending on the society or the state of humanity at any particular epoch or time in history, the message of truth is repackaged or passed on or retaught in a new form, you could say a new religious form, by people with with awakened consciousness. These people are messengers, okay, with the capital M, messengers, or avatar. I'm sure you've heard of the film Avatar. If you look at that film and then look at what we're talking about here, maybe you can correlate the two. The avatar is the person who brings a new teaching, a new religion to a particular group or aspect or geographical region of humanity. And they bring information in a different way each time to suit the particular culture and society. So when Jesus was here, he gave things in a certain way. Muhammad or Buddha, for example. Jesus was an avatar. He traveled throughout Europe, the Middle East, Egypt, India, and Tibet, and collected teachings from various sources. Okay. He then went to the heart of those teachings. In other words, he went to the synthesis, the rationalization of those teachings, which he then taught to humanity. And obviously, that is what we now know as Christianity. As they are, or they were a synthesis, they were the main trunk of this tree that we're talking about on the left, which indeed is Gnosis. And you'll also recall that Jesus taught in two levels. The first was for the public consumption. He taught in parables, which are myths, or you could say stories. And then he also talked esoterically to others, namely the disciples, okay, and he taught them mouth to ear, in other words, directly. Jesus was an Essene, okay, which is a Gnostic sect. Paul of Tarsus was a Nazarene, another Gnostic sect, okay. Both of these sects were Gnostic. The original Christian church was Gnostic. The primitive Gnostic church was the foundation for many other Christian sects. For example, Protestantism, Catholicism, Armenian, Adventism, etc., etc. So the synthesis of the religions is of the Gnostic teachings. Gnosis is a school and a synthesis of the religions. In Gnosis, there is all the ancient wisdom already digested. Now, all the mysteries have been revealed due to the state of humanity. We can say, from a Gnostic point of view, the mysteries of those schools have been explained by the likes of Venerable Master Samael, Venerable Master Lakshmi. So those two masters and many others have explained, or you could say prepared all of us as students of Gnosis to be able to understand the mysteries. And we know through the application of those three factors, we are going to be able to actually turn the theories, the ideas, and the concepts into a reality, as we've already mentioned. So, as we begin to do our inner work and walk along that path and travel towards our inner being to return, to reunite, we must start to apply the practices we have been given. In particular, those three factors. Let's just take a look at those three factors. You've all seen this slide before. By eliminating the ego, creating internal vehicles, and sacrificing for humanity, we will be able to open the way to rejoin our inner being, to become one with our own being. And this in itself gives us self-gnosis, or another way of saying self-realization. When we have crystallized the work, we will be self-realized. This is the intimate self-realization of the being. Are you all okay with that so far? All nodding? Okay, that's good. So, that was a very short topic. We're going to move it back a little bit to last week now. Can you all remember this rune? Yeah, you can. Have you been trying to do it? Have you been able to feel results? Yeah. Sometimes when we make this rune or other runes, it makes the eyes water. And that is because the meridians are opened during the practice. You know, the meridians that the acupuncturists use when they put the needles in, those meridians, those energetic flows start to come into force or come into manifestation during the runes, and in particular this rune. So your eyes might start to water if you do this. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move to the next part because you all seem to be happy. There's nothing coming. Is there any questions coming in the chat? No.
So, sorry, Andy. This is, it looks like the left hand is more raised than the right hand, if I'm correct.
The left hand is above the right hand.
Above the right hand.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also noticed that by the time I did it 3 times. I can feel my hand is really starts getting painful and heavy. So I only do it 3 times. I couldn't get up to 7 times.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. At the beginning, this practice, if we're trying to keep our arms as straight as possible,
Yeah.
then trying to do that and focus on all these words and then the vocalizations and doing it for 3 times, it does start to hurt a little bit across the back of the shoulders and on the arms, top of the arms. But yeah, if you can do 7, then brilliant, do 7. But 3 is great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move topic now. We're going to go to a different topic in this lecture. You remember we talked about this thing called ubication right at the beginning of the course. I think we're talking about the fact that ubication, more or less, means to be aligned, to be, you could say, placed or in placement. So when we say aligned or in placement, we're talking about with our inner being. So through the pineal into the heart, the very center of the heart. And in that moment, we're able to feel the presence of our inner being in that serenity, in that calmness, you could say. That is a state of ubication, which the masters recommend that we try to achieve all the time. Because in the state of ubication, we are able to relax. We are able to observe an observer. We are able to do the key soul, etc. in the state of ubication. So it's like a foundation. But when we talked about it, we didn't mention that there is some vocalizations, and this is what I was going to share with you now. So this is called, well, you can see vida, and the blue arrows are showing where you should be focusing when you pronounce the vocalization. Okay, and you can see that vida is one breath, and we focus in the pineal, and then we focus in the heart for V and then da, one breath. Vida. Okay, you say you can. You don't have to sort of make a big thing of it. You don't need to do a particular posture, other than as you move around through your daily life, whether you're shopping, if you're pushing the trolley, or whether you're pushing the pram, or whether you're in the queue in the post office. Just pronounce this mantra. It can be very quietly. It doesn't have to be very loud. It can even be internally, but it's recommended to speak it, to vocalize it in itself. Excuse me. Okay. So it's at the pineal, V, heart, da. It's one breath. V, da. Okay. How's that one? Second one with one breath. Excuse me, is, as you can see, hum. It's like the J is with the H, hum, like that. Again, one breath, and you can see pineal and then heart. So it's hum, hum. Okay, hum like a H. Hopefully you got that. And then the final one to add to this, what I'll do is I'll put this in the group. This one is asilus. So asilus is a word which you'll probably find in the dictionary online, but we pronounce it like you see there. Ah, si, lus. Very long, very drawn out. Okay. As long as you can do it. And you can see you can do it in 3 independent breaths if you want. So you can actually breathe in between each, like this. Ah, see, loose. Okay. You can try it in one breath if you want. You can try it in three breaths to see what you think is best. But again, you do it in the day, whether you're walking down the high street, whether you're in the bus queue, whether you're driving the car. And then you pronounce that mantra three times, and then you say, I am awake. I am not asleep because I am with God and God is with me. And when you say those words aloud, you say it knowing that God is with you. It's not an idea, it's not a concept. God is with you because you are connected to your inner being through the vocalization. You're connected to your divine mother. So your essence, your free essence is awakened. That's the bit that is awake. Okay. And it's the bit that is not asleep. So you, the essence, are doing the practice. You are saying these things. You, the essence, the consciousness, is not mechanical. I am awake. I am not asleep because I am with God and God is with me. In itself, that is very profound and very beautiful phrase. Yeah. But it's something which we can learn the words off by heart so we can say it during the day. If we feel that we're getting caught up with the situation, whether it's a World Cup football match or it's a tennis in Wimbledon or cricket match or whatever it is, we need to try to remain in the moment, to remain ubicated. And so we pronounce the mantra Asilus. Okay. There's all three are very good, but Asilus is I find that the most powerful one out of those three. But you need to learn the words to be able to get the results. Okay. That is a very short lesson. So I'm going to come to the end and then open the floor to questions and ask anything else. Yeah, that's the end. Yeah. End show. Stop.